Okay, it looks like we're live, and I'll pull up the script as well. And let me just see if there's any more participants, because I heard another chime.
Yeah, we had Scott Rogers join in. Right.
Okay. Oh, and I think this might be Jim.
Or maybe the cell phone.
Ends in 249. This is Jim.
Yeah, this is Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
All right, so I could read the script and then we'll get going.
Tell me again, how do I mute myself?
Cell phone?
Maybe I can. Yeah. All right, this is just a regular phone.
Oh,
Phone call.
I actually don't know.
Okay. All right.
I guess just
right.
don't talk.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna hear me slurp soup because we just got home.
I'll mute you, Jim. Just raise your hand, and I think raising hand. Does anybody know how to raise hand from a phone? It's *6 or *9.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Mia, the script disappeared. We went back to the agenda. Okay, my name is Bob Mihalik. I'm the chairperson of the Northborough Trails Committee. This meeting of Northborough Trails is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Northborough Trails Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows Northborough Trails Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream do so by going to, quote, Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube, end quote. I'm guessing it's via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. And can you scroll a little bit? Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, state your name, and say each attending member's name and wait for verbal reply. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, state each staff member's name. So let's start with members. Brian Belfer, are you here?
Brian Belfer, present.
Carol Devine?
Present.
Jim Klinkenberg? Oh, you're muted, Jim, but.
Oh, here. Am I back? This is Jim. Thank you.
And Bill, I haven't met you in person yet, but Bill, your last name too, please.
Bill Cobb.
Okay, Bill Cobb. And Forrest Lyford.
Forrest Lyford here.
And is Scott Rogers here? I saw Scott pop up. I don't know if he's still here.
Yeah, I'm here, Bob. I'm just being a silent spectator.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond. Mia McDonald.
Here.
And are there any other staff members, Mia?
No, just me.
Okay. So let's see, the chair will invite each speaker by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. That's it. So, typically, first order of business is to approve meeting minutes from previous months. Unfortunately, I missed the October meeting, not on purpose. I forget what exactly I was doing. I think I was in California, actually. I read them, but I don't necessarily want to vote on the accuracy since I wasn't in attendance. But Mia can display both September and October minutes, and those who were in attendance, please feel free to state your name and then comment on the minutes. So we can start with Brian. Your name's listed there for September.
Yeah, I was just rereading them. We're just looking at them so that we can approve them.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm looking back at the email. I have two minutes, but it looks like there's a lot of overlap from September to October. Maybe duplicate?
Oh. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I didn't go to the October one. Definitely the new info on the October is about the Mensner Trail Bridge. And I think some of the rerouting at Edmond Hill.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong attachment. Now I'm looking at the proper one.
Okay.
I would say that the October minutes look fairly thorough and accurate.
second,
So I would move to accept the October minutes as good.
Okay. Brian and Cheryl, was that you to second the motion?
I did. I second the approval.
Okay. Mia, if you could scroll, I think there's a, I don't know if everyone had a chance to read those headings on page 1, but there's a page 2 for October as well with some additional items. And then I don't know, Mia, if at the October meeting, were the September meeting minutes approved?
No, we didn't get to them, so we do need to get to those as well.
Okay. So if these look good and have been approved and accepted, we could go back to the September.
Could we vote by roll call? I had a motion by Brian and a second by Cheryl, and then we need a roll call vote to accept.
Okay. Bill, were you there on that? I think I see BC initials.
I was present and I approve.
Okay, thank you. Forrest?
Yes,
Lyford?
I was present and I approve.
Okay, and we have Cheryl, Devine, and Brian already did. Brian, you're listed twice. Wow. I just noticed that.
It's really important.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
fix that.
So other than Brian's name being listed twice, which Mia stated can be corrected, then the October 19th, 2020 minutes have been approved by roll call. And then if we go back to September, and I was there. So I read these prior to the meeting, and I do think they are accurate and make a motion to approve these minutes. Bob Mahalik, by the way. Sorry, makes a motion to approve. And should we do roll call for this
This
one?
is
Mia?
Cheryl. I'll second.
And yes, for the roll call, please.
Okay, so Brian Belfer,
I think I was really late to that meeting, so I'm going to abstain.
okay. Forrest Lyford,
Yes, I was there. I approve.
okay, thank you. Jim Klinkenberg. Oh, Jim, you're on the phone, so you can't necessarily see these. So you may have to abstain.
He may have received
Well,
them by email.
Hi, this is Jim. I don't remember if I was at the September meeting. I know I've missed meetings.
Okay, we have your name there, Jim. You may have joined in on the cell phone.
Yeah.
But if you can't see them or didn't get a chance to review them, that's fine.
No, I looked at it, but there was well, I'll talk with Mia afterwards because I think there was something on an earlier meeting about when I was checking out the changes up on the Edmonds Hill.
Oh, prior to September?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, I think that's here. It says Jim K also stated new trail was well liked.
Yeah, that's it. But what was missing was I got really confused about that I mentioned at the meeting, the little colored tags, the little tapes that were tied everywhere. I just found it confusing.
Yeah, I think those were
and you did explain it at the meeting, but when I was out on the trail, I don't know. That's all.
Yeah.
So we should add that to the minutes?
Yeah, the plastic tags left on the trail might confuse some hikers or something. I don't know.
Okay, plastic tags. Now, since then, I think, Brian, I think you removed those tags and blazed up there. Is that right? I think.
This was at the Edmonds reroute?
Yep, the Edmond reroute.
The trees have been blazed. They have orange blaze on them. I'm sorry, they have red blaze on them. I didn't actually do it. I'm not sure who did. There is still a little bit of flagging tape at the beginning of the new trail.
It was
coming
me.
From the Rice Ave side.
I'm having a senior moment. I did it.
I
When
thought
I
it
went
was
up
you,
there to
Mia.
map. I went up there to map with CMRPC, which we haven't gotten that data yet, but that's another thing. I yanked all the pink tags I could and blazed it in red.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
I withdraw my comment or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's Jim Stein's not in attendance tonight, so we can't get his approval of these. So I think that was a complete roll call vote for the September minutes.
Okay.
All right. So with that out of the way, we can move on to the agenda for this month. Trail reports. So as far as I know, the only report I heard was through the Facebook site where a volunteer not in attendance tonight noticed a tree had fallen down at Watson Park and was blocking the entrance to the trail at Watson Park. And he was able to, it wasn't very large, and he was able to saw through that with a handsaw and drag it out of the way.
That was me, Bob.
Oh, that was you, Bill?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you, Bill. And did you walk the whole Watson Park loop, Bill?
Yeah, I did. And I know. I also made note of that bridge that I'd like to fix because it's really gone on the Ridge Road side.
Right.
It's a little tiny one. It's just like I think it's just two planks of 2x10. It probably take 30 minutes to fix.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, in the we were messaging in the Facebook application. Yeah, that's fine. And as I mentioned, we do have some lumber available behind the equipment shed, which is behind the Northborough Police Station. Some of that Brian inventoried, which may be earmarked for an Eagle Scout project that I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, there should be some things there that you can use. There's some odd pieces. There's like a large piece of 8x8 pressure treated that could be used for support. And I think there's some planks there as well. So yeah, that's fine. And then I guess too, we do have funds available to purchase lumber, although lumber's hard to come by these days.
I'm gonna hit my own lumber pile. I think I won't need a little clean out here, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, no, that's awesome. And do you need help doing that?
No, it's gonna be real simple, unless somebody really wants to come down. I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'll do it Saturday morning, but I'm not quite sure what time.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
won't
I
be
mean,
long.
if you wanted to put something on the Facebook site, you're welcome to do that. If you don't mind doing it by yourself, that's fine too. I will be out of state on Saturday going to pick up my daughter in Pennsylvania, so I'll be around to help.
No worries. I think it's probably going to be a piece of cake. It's just a couple planks, so no
Yeah.
worries. I appreciate it though.
Excellent. And did you get a chance to walk that? It's sort of like an out and back section, and then it's almost like a lollipop shaped trail if you start over at that cul-de-sac area.
Yeah, I walked the whole thing. There was a couple low hangers I cut out with a handsaw. Other than that, it's in pretty good shape. I didn't even know where the trailhead was because it was so obscured with those blowdowns.
Mhm.
I only saw it on my way back. So I cleared it out with a handsaw, and it's a little messy there. I'm probably going to clean it up a little bit more when I go back. But other than that, it's in pretty good shape. There is some trash, probably not a surprise there.
Yeah.
Near the trailhead and the boat launch. But if there is a process to follow, I'd be happy to put it in a bag and bring it somewhere, but I'm not sure what that process is.
Yeah. So Mia, you might be able to provide some insight to this. I remember talking to the town planner, Kathy Dubert, and Kathy was saying that we could get the green town trash bags to use for trailhead cleanup.
Yep, I have green trash bags at town hall. I can put them in it if you need. You just let me know how many you need. And then your choice is to bring them home and put them out at your curb, or you just leave them there and you send me an email and DPW can pick them up. But we try not to use our DPW points because they help us with the really big stuff. Like we had a whole basketball hoop at Watson Park, and like that's beyond all of us. And they went and took that for us. But if you want green bags, you can have them for free for trail cleanup. Just let me know. And I'm in the office tomorrow, 7 to noon. I can put some in an envelope and leave them at the door to town hall if you need.
All right, we'll do. I think I'm looking at maybe a bag or a half a bag. Probably not a big deal.
I'll really put 5 out there for you. You can just use them for trail cleanups. And if you ever can't bring them home because they're like dripping or something, just let me know and we can ask DPW if they're free to grab them. If they have the staff, they'll do it. Like after a snowstorm, they can't, that kind of thing.
Do they support throwing it in a dumpster at the DPW, or that's not allowed at this point?
No, they fill their dumpster, so they keep track of it. Like they'll tell us like, oh, our dumpster's really full and we're renewing the contract. We can't take it right now. We'll get it next week, that kind of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
But they've never said no. They've always let me know that they might, but they never have. They're very nice. So I'll put the bags out with your name, Bill. I'll leave them by the door to town hall.
And I have to admit, I haven't been out on the trails much in the past couple of months, so I don't have any insight, recent insight into any hazards or maintenance things. So I'll just open the floor to discussion, and just please identify yourself if you're going to make any comments on maintenance requirements and such.
This is Bill Cobb. I have a couple more items.
Okay, Bill.
One was, since I was in the minutes last week, I had volunteered to clean the Cole Harbor Upper Trail there that sits above West Street.
Near the floating bridge?
Yeah, I bushed that out with the weed cutter and the brush cutter, and it's in much better shape all the way to church now. Somebody had mentioned that it was okay to do that, so I took care of that a few Saturdays ago. That was
That's
number
excellent.
one.
Okay.
Number two, that tall grass trail was really growing in, where you could barely get through it without a massage. And I went through that last Sunday with the brush cutter and opened it up. At least you can get one person through there now without a struggle. So surprisingly, there was a lot of people on that trail, and it's just a dead end, but it seems popular. So that was the two items that I had.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thank you for doing that. Definitely if you're out there by yourself with the brush cutter, just make sure you have on protective gear, because we've had, we used to use a brush cutter that had a metal saw blade on it, and that thing exploded a few times when we had hit rocks and stuff. So we switched away from that practice and just use the string trimmer thing now. But yeah, just, I'm sure you know how to use it. Just be careful when you're out there. One of the things with tall grass is that, yeah, we sort of agreed a few years ago that section where the trail just kind of continues, there's a right-hand turn where you could go along, I think it's Birdsong Trail. And then if you go straight and sort of follow the Assabet, we sort of concluded that was like a fisherman's sort of wasn't a trail per se, but it was more of just an access for fishermen to fish at the Assabet. And so we essentially stopped maintaining it. I have no problem at all if you want to keep it open, but it's kind of hard to get a mower in there. That was one issue that we had. We have to. I had permission from the former chairman Art Cole to park our trailer at the Birchwood Community Center, and then come down. There's a little access path where there's typically two chairs and a little fire pit right there near the Assabet River, and kind of come down there with the mower. But it's difficult access in there. So, string trimmer is definitely the best way to do it. But yeah, we haven't really been focusing on that too much, just because it's not, like you said, it's a dead end trail mainly used by people who go fishing in there.
But it goes out to such a pretty view over the wetlands. It's really nice, actually. I like it. We hiked down to the end of that just for that view.
How far does it go?
It's pretty, not very far.
Oh.
But there's a really beautiful bend in the river that takes you by, which is just just really lovely.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind it. We were sort of focusing on the round trip trails that people were going on, that if they were doing a loop around, say, the Stirrup Brook, that kind of a thing. But yeah, I think it's great. It was more of just a not necessarily a lack of volunteers, but I guess sort of a lack of enthusiasm to clear out the dead end trail. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad you did it, Bill. I went down there.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I went down there one time a few years ago. We had a pretty severe drought, and I was able to walk almost all the way over to what's that trail that comes out on Boundary Street?
Old Farm.
Old Farm Trail.
Yeah.
The only thing I had to do was jump across like a 5 or 6 foot kind of muddy little brook. But I made it over to Beaver Point, or Owl Point? No, Beaver Point on Old Farm Trail, where we have a picnic table there. And it made me think, like, wow, that would be a really, but that's a floodplain, so we couldn't really put anything in there, I think. But it got me thinking, that new Burroughs Loop Trail, where they built that nice boardwalk on the other side of Boundary Street that goes up and through Marlboro. That, boy, it would be awesome to be able to go off of the that kind of fisherman's access trail and then go all the way across over to Beaver Point with a a nice boardwalk.
When I was there were 3 people that came over and they were like, I hope this goes back to Old Farm. And I had to break the news. I'm like, nope, you've got to walk all the way back.
Yeah.
And one lady with her dog says, well, can you put a request in to connect it? And I'm like, I don't know. This is a drought. And if it's a wet season, that thing's probably going to be underwater, you know?
Yeah.
It's usually extremely muddy at the end of that trail. I went down there in the spring and you could barely get through it. It was so muddy. So if we were to try to do a boardwalk, it's, it'd be like 1,000 feet of boardwalk.
Yeah.
Lumber would be probably prohibitive, but if it was a trail, I bet you it would be underwater most of the time.
Yeah. Let me comment on that. The original plan was to have a boardwalk. In fact, there is one constructed that lasted about 1 season because we had flooding and it floated away. And that was the end of the boardwalk. A lot of time and effort was put into that, but it didn't work.
Yeah, and then
Alrighty
I think
then, I guess that answers that.
Well,
Yeah.
technology.
It's a floodway, so it's federally regulated and no structures are allowed because of the mobility of the floodway. Like I recently had to tell a person she couldn't put a hot tub in the floodway because the hot tub will end up in Church Street next hurricane. So the same thing, like the boardwalk would migrate and then you don't know what kind of damage it would cause from the migration. So the building inspector and the town engineer prohibit any structures in the floodway due to federal regulations.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a shame. It'd be such a great loop.
Oh, it would. It'd be fabulous.
Amazing.
But all right, Bill. Thanks for those 2 maintenance activities. Definitely much appreciated. I think on the agenda, Mia, if you could, am I hiding it on my own screen? If you could switch back, I don't know I forget what the next agenda items are. Equipment updates. Yeah, that pretty much is still true. I don't know of any any power tools we have that are broken or anything. I was mowing a bunch this summer. The mowers were great. The shed's kind of full with mowers and things like that. So I think we're all set up with. I found a couple at the ends of people's driveway and put a new spark plug in them and they ran, and so then I put it inside the shed. So we've got some a surplus of mowers now.
You hoarding mowers, Bob?
I was, yeah, for a little while. It was weird, driving around town and be like, oh, there's a mower. So I'd throw it in the back of my truck and bring it home. And like one of them, literally, it just needed a new air filter, $5. And I put it on and it started up. I'm like, well, we can mow a trail with this. And if we hit a rock and the thing explodes, then it's only $5.
Can I ask a question, Bob?
Sure.
The last time I used the brush mower over near the senior center, one of the tires came off. Is the brush mower up and functioning?
Yeah.
Currently?
Yep. Yeah, I had that same thing happen to me, Forrest, and it turned out I think what happened was some moisture got in between the rim and the tire and sort of sat there for a little bit, and it kind of rusted out, and then that broke the seal between the tire and the rim. So I had the same thing happen. I was over near mowing at Cedar Hill, and the wheel came off the rim. And so, I limped back to my truck and put it in the truck. And then I brought it home and took the wheel off of the rim and wire brushed the rim to get the rust and stuff out and put it back on and resealed it. So I was there. I switched the mowers around. I had the brush mower in the trailer, and then the new grass mower was in the shed, but then I wanted to switch them. And that was like maybe in September, and it looked good. Like the wheels still had pressure in them and things like that. So I think it's going to hold up. But yeah, I think part of the problem is, those mowers sit there for months on end. And if there's any kind of moisture on it, it just starts to weigh at things. So I try to keep them dry. If I'm mowing and it happens to be starting to rain or something, I'll bring it home, dry it off before I put it back into the shed, that kind of thing. So let's see. New projects, funding, training opportunities. So some of the stuff I'm not too familiar with. I think, Forrest, you mentioned this accessible trail at the senior center. Is that around the little pond there and stuff like that?
Yes, it's as near as I can tell, it's probably about a half-mile loop. Yeah, you can see the map that I guess Mia just brought this up.
Oh, okay, nice.
And actually, I was out there today, just moving dead and down stuff, and it could be a trail. We could run the brush mower over it now, I think, and we could have a functioning walking trail, if we get all the permissions to do that kind of thing. There's very little effort involved in this. A lot of the brush removal was done as part of the disc golf activity, so we're just using some of those clearings that was done as part of the disc golf activity.
Yeah, some of that looked quite familiar to me, especially the stuff on the east side of the parking lot there. That was right where I think we went through to make one of the quote unquote fairways for disc golf.
Yeah, it's pretty much a straight shot. It's wide open.
Yeah,
there's some stumps sticking up that may have to be cut off, but other than that,
that might be a sore spot along.
I have some really exciting news about that. It's almost serendipitous. The senior center director, Liz, I don't know how many of you have met her. She's a little new. She started during COVID. She reached out to the DPW director and said she would like to create a wheelchair accessible trail around the senior center. And so the DPW director reached out to me, and because I had said to him, I'm walking this next week. If it looks good, will you walk it with me? Because he's our site guy, tells us, how much things will really cost. And so he knew I had talked to him about it. So he checked in with me and connected Liz and I. Liz is actually going to apply for a DOT, a Department of Transportation grant, to put it in. So she's gonna take the lead on the application. And I just wrote to her today, just this afternoon, and I sent her the plan I'm showing you now, Forrest sketch, and said, that Forrest knew what he was doing and he was researching ADA and really trying to lay this out, and that he's done a really nice job. So they do have, I think I mentioned this before, that they're that site, the senior center site up Edmonds Hill, it was bought from the Old Fish and Game and carved up into 3 uses: conservation, recreation, and senior center. So you can't really see it on the parcel maps, but each part is sort of, it has to be for a certain use. And so recreation right now is looking at possibly fitting in pickleball, maybe a dog park. So we do have to get those nailed down, but we can, Liz is going to move forward. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I think it's going to move forward with a DOT grant. And, we're Forrest, I let them know that they're right now, if you all want to walk it, Forrest hung some pink flags that say NTC roughly in this route. So I think it's going to move forward. It's really nice when things come together like that.
So Mia, would that be paved? Like asphalt?
It has to be ADA accessible. And there's, we were talking about the different types. It could be a crushed stone, that it could be pea stone, it could be paved, it could be, Forrest was telling me about grates he had seen used on ADA trails. And so there's a lot of different terrain out there. There's the pine grove, there's the wetland out front, there's the reclamation area in the back, and then out over on that eastern side that has a lot of that's a disturbed sort of deciduous area where, so they're going to have to look at what the base is and match up, have a consultant, an engineer come in and design.
Sounds good.
Make sure we meet the slopes, the switchbacks, all that stuff. Correct sub base.
Mia, on the short term, can we make, as you and I have discussed, can we make a walking trail prior to, whatever excavation and so forth is required for the accessible trail?
Yeah, I think we had talked to the field, and if you all approve it, then next month, we had talked to conservation last month about a switchback down from the summit down to the senior center. Conservation said, go ahead, flag it in. So Brian flagged it in. So when I go back this month, I'm going to email them, the Conservation Commission, and say, go out and look at this trail. So I haven't emailed them yet because I wanted to find out from you all if you want to do the same with this accessible trail. ask conservation for permission for both. So that we ask them, they're meeting December 14th. We can ask them to view the two trails, Brian's Trail and Forest Trail, the accessible trail. And then when we get to the meeting, ask them for permission to cut them in, rake them in, do minor cutting.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Sounds
I
like a
think,
good plan.
yeah. Do we have to make a motion to approve these ideas?
I think so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve both a temporary walking trail around the senior center, and then also long-term and ADA accessible trail around the senior center, as well as switchbacks, the Edmond Hill Trail.
Second.
Thank you, Sherry.
Just as a question, if it's like a DOT project and they want to pave it, is something like that typically done with like minimal destruction of the surrounding area? Because I'm like envisioning like giant paving trucks driving through the woods, and that seems a little bit unappealing.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know anything about this DOT grant. I have to find out. It's just happened this afternoon. So I'll get more information.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm all for the ADA trail. I think it's a great idea. And I mean, if someone's ambitious enough to want to pave it, I think it's suitable also. I mean, I'd lean towards a more natural style, but if paving it's the way to go, that's great. I would just want to make sure that, you know, the voice is heard that like, we don't need like a 16-foot wide swath of destruction through there.
Mhm.
Or at least I think that would be bad.
And it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So maybe the motion for now just be the temporary walking trail, and then we'll wait and see what that design looks like for because although you can just say that you're open to the design and the application.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to start constructing.
Right. I just wanted to bring it up, you know, I don't know what it takes to put a paved trail through the woods, you know. The narrowest I've seen is through like a rail trail bed, and that's usually really wide already. So
Yeah, I think they have asphalt paving machines that can do 36 inches, but then the issue is that ADA compliant?
Yes.
You know, maybe ADA says 72 inches for.
No, 36 inches.
Oh, 36? Okay.
Yep.
So
But you
yeah,
might need some turnouts, but that's another.
Oh, that's good to know.
detail. Yeah.
So yeah, that can be done, I think, with relatively little impact, especially that part on the western side where there's not too much room between the pond and the train tracks. That's a fairly narrow, because we walked that strip. That was going to be a path where the disc golfers were going to walk down, and that's pretty narrow. That 36 inches is going to be like the edge of that pond, I think. So that's going to be tight.
There'll have to be some brush clearing, but it's not, there's plenty of room there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
yeah.
So there was a motion and a second for cutting in a temporary walking trail, design and application of the ADA trail, and cutting in of the Edmond Hill switchbacks. Should we take a roll call vote?
Sure.
Okay.
Bob Mahalik, I approve of those measures.
Forrest Lyford, I approve.
Brian Belfer, I approve.
Cheryl Devine, I approve.
And Bill?
Bill Cobb, I approve.
Okay. And if we could switch back, Mia, to the agenda and just see what we got. So that's the item 3A. 3B would also be included in that, which would be the Summit Trail reroute, I believe. Edmond Hill Interpretive Trail. So that's a new thing for me. I'm not sure what that is about.
You want to take a stab at that, Cheryl?
Sure. So Forrest and I are looking to revive, update the current walking trail or interpretive trail on Edmond Hill.
Mhm.
And so he and I went out last week and walked the trail. We're actually going to expand it beyond what it was before because it was kind of short last time it was done. So this time we'll go up over the hill to the, from the Rice Avenue over to the senior center and then around that side trail and then by the railroad. So we're getting most of the trail system in there included. And so when we went out walking, Forrest would just stop and start talking and I write some notes and he'd write notes. And and then I emailed Mia after Forrest and I walked it asking about what we needed to do in order to be able to actually create this and put in posts and whatnot. And also what we could do to make it more accessible, like something that you could get on your phone. You get to the spot and you click on your phone for that particular location and you can read about it or hear Forrest's voice talking about it or something like that. And those were the three things that Mia sent in our email this week to check out, which I don't know if other people have done that, have checked it out. I checked it out, it was pretty cool. And so that's where we are with that. Forrest just sent me today a draft of the text that he would suggest for all these locations. So he and I will work on kind of tweaking that a little bit. But I think one of the things I was wondering about or thinking about too was whether I think it would be really good, Forrest, if we had your voice so that people who can't read for whatever reason could hear the text as well. And the other possibility is video, because then we could have your voice and the location. I don't know if any of this is reasonable, but the examples that Mia sent out this week, did anyone see those? Click on those links and see the examples.
Can we hire a professional narrator like Morgan Freeman or someone like that?
No, it's got to be you. I think it should be you, Forrest, for sure. That's
People
my
might
opinion.
fall asleep. That's the problem.
That's not true at all. Anyway, so those three examples that Mia sent out were pretty interesting. The third one was a little hard to for me to really see how that would work on a walking trail. I mean, they say that they do it, but it's like GPS enabled so that it automatically comes up on your phone when you cross into the town, if it's going to be a town that is doing this tour of their town, the highlights. But it also said that it could do a walking tour. So, I mean, I don't know if the GPS is that precise that if you're in the woods, it would actually know when you got to the location of the thing. But it's also the only one that has a fee attached to it. So that could be an issue too. And then of the other two, I thought the one that SVT did was pretty cool because it takes you back to their site where they can do a lot more. They could do a lot more text and video and photographs and all of that to kind of flesh things out more than just having a little blurb on the side of the Google Maps, which I think is what the second one looked like.
Yeah, we thought at one point of maybe putting those 2D barcodes, in various locations, just a small little, maybe like a 3x5 card laminated with the two-dimensional barcode, the QR code, and you just point your camera at it and it pulls up a website that would have, information for that location. I'm assuming there's good enough cell signal there, and that there's towers right nearby. That might work, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing as we did before. Those numbered posts that I put in have held up remarkably well over the last 15 years. I mean, some of them are starting to rot. They don't seem to be subject to vandalism. At least we haven't had, I don't know if we have any problems that way.
Right.
And like I say, they have held up quite well. So I'd be glad to make posts like that if you think that's the best approach. Resilience, I think, is important.
Yeah, definitely. That's sort of the back of my mind is, the potential for vandalism. If there's too much stuff put up, it may just get torn down. But yeah, those posts, a lot of them are still there. I think because they're very low, I think people miss them in some cases.
You mean they miss them so they don't vandalize them?
Yes, yeah.
Whereas so if that's a good strategy.
Right.
Well, it might require some consultation on optimum height. Maybe we could make them another foot higher. They might be a little more obvious, but then people will try to kick them out. I don't know. Let's think about it anyway. Regardless, I have the templates that I use for numbering before, after all these years, and I'd be glad to do it again or something like that if you think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in that area to talk about.
Yes. Ask Cheryl.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that it looked like one of those other examples might be able to do is actually have it attached or linked up to the trail map itself, which might be an advantage over just the QR codes. I think the QR codes is actually a really good idea because it makes it super easy to get to the website you need to go to. But I don't know, Mia, what did you think of those examples that you sent out?
I like the SVT one the best too, because it's we don't need a third person. There's no annual fee, and they said they maintain it. So what I'm hearing is like the posts with the QR codes, but then also a trail map, and the trail map can also have QR codes or website links, and then when you go to the trails, and we can just create pages on the trails website. And when you're on the trails website, if they're numbered, people can just scroll through. You can just like go to number 1, number 2, or maybe have the numbers all at the bottom in case they somehow end up at number 14. They can click on 14 to find out. And also if someone's walking in the woods, and they just want to Google it, number 14 Edmond Hill, they'll get the right web page if we put the right tags in. They can find out why they're looking at a sliding boulder, So.
What's so special about this boulder?
Yeah, and we can add video, pictures, historical pictures, Forest voice.
Right, exactly. See, Mia's with me, Forrest.
I am.
I actually really do think it should be you, Forrest. I think it should be your voice. But anyway, so that's really fun. That's what we're doing right now. And we've also talked about Jubilee after we're done with this one.
Okay.
And because
I just wanted to add some. This is Jim. If we can convince Forrest to do it, I like his voice, and I'll volunteer to hold cue cards for him while you're putting it together.
Nice.
Sounds like a great idea.
Actually, Forrest, I'm thinking we go out again and I just run a digital recorder and you just talk like you did before. I mean, you don't have to read something formal. I think we should still have the write-up like what you did, because I think that's really helpful, but just kind of, I think add a lot to it.
Yeah, we wouldn't have, that's a good idea. Just talk.
Just talk.
Yep. And question and answer.
Forest is where the Jubilee Trail is that also one of those, what's it called, a glacial moraine? What's the,
Drumlin?
Yeah, Drumlin, that's it, Drumlin. Is Jubilee Trail a Drumlin?
No.
Okay.
No, that's a very shallow bedrock area. It's exposed almost over the whole site. Yeah, that's another. I worked on that interpretive trail with the New England Forestry Foundation, and that was pretty popular for a while. Then the adjoining landowner asked us to move the trail, and I got frustrated and didn't move the interpretive.
Yeah.
That's what
Part of
I'm
it,
here
so.
for, Forrest.
What's that?
That's what I'm here for.
Oh, yes.
Get you out there to fix this stuff.
Yeah, Cheryl's my motivator here.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at that. I would give that a lower priority than Edmond Woods, but we could redo that. And I'm
That's
sure the
next.
New England Forestry Foundation would support that 100%.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely what I like about Jubilee is the dendrology markers, the tree identifiers are nice to see out there. I think the one you had for the American chestnut, though, unfortunately, I think that tree died, as they're prone to do.
Yeah, those signs didn't hold up quite as well as the 4x4 posts.
Yeah.
Lesson learned, I guess.
Right. All right, and then item 3D on the agenda, it says BV NEMBA project, and I'm Brian, maybe is that something that you wanted to discuss?
Indeed. So our friends in Blackstone Valley NEMBA want to get involved and are offering their assistance for some kind of trail work or bridge work in Northborough. Mostly inspired by, we had all the trauma up at Pisgah that they all recognized. It's a highly used mountain bike area. Obviously the NEMBA guys were not the people doing the destruction, but anyway, they reached out because they want to do something. They got a lot of talent. They have some money. They're really good at bridges. They'd love to help with something in town. So I wanted to brainstorm possibilities of what we think we might be able, how we could best utilize them. And if we want to do that, the Pisgah is really the destination trail. And then there are a lot of people that ride the Burroughs Loop Trail. A few people ride Edmond Hill, but it's not really a destination. Beyond that, the other trails in town are not really biking destinations. So,
right.
So I didn't know if anyone had any ideas on, what we might be looking for or what we could do.
One trail that is pretty gnarly that would be tough to get through on a bicycle is the Sawing Loop Trail over in the Cedar Hill area. I think the Westboro Northborough town line goes through. I think sort of half of that trail is in Northborough and half is in Westboro. But there's some very, very rocky, wet areas in there that it would be great to have a little trail bridge on some of the Sawing Loop, because that's connected to the Crane Swamp. You can get onto the aqueduct from there. You can go up and over Walnut Hill. It's a fairly big area. Probably a couple thousand acres total. That to me kind of stands out. That's when I've ridden through there, I've always had to get off the bike and just kind of go walk it through some of these really wet, rocky areas. That to me seems like it would be a pretty cool place to get some trail bridges put in.
Yeah, I can't remember if I've been on that. That's not one of the SVT no biking spots, is it?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's SVT.
Yeah.
It's in Westboro. Like,
that actually might be SVT, but it
is SVT.
It is.
The trail bridge could be advertised as a pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's it could be, but if it's like if it's a multi-use trail, the BV NEMBA will put their name right on it. They're not gonna build a trail that's they're not gonna build a bridge or do trail work on a trail that specifically excludes biking. Right. I'm just not sure which. Point. I get, some of the SVT stuff is bikeable, and then some of it's posted non-bikeable.
Right.
It's also in a greater scheme. Blackstone Valley NEMBA has been working with SVT on trying to get them to come around with their little viewpoints about being so anti-biking, and there's some fresh blood in SVT who are more open to multi-use on some of their managed properties.
Mhm.
I just looked it up and bicycling is prohibited on the Sawing Trail.
Oh. Hmm. So it was a good thing I was walking my bike then.
Yeah, definitely.
You're carrying it, right?
Right.
Right.
We could invite SVT and try to open up that conversation again.
Yeah, I think it's worth it because it's not a very heavily used area. So I think if bikers are there, they're very rarely going to encounter a pedestrian. And certainly I've never seen hoof prints there from equestrians. I think there's some houses nearby. I think one or two of the local residents may walk their dog on the Sawing Loop, but that's pretty much it.
Bob, I think that would apply as well to the, what do they call it, Walnut Hill Trail?
Yeah. So you can get
I
to
don't know, I
Walnut
wonder
Hill.
if anybody ever uses that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do once in a while.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's
And
been
that-
several
that- and
years
that-
since I've been out there.
And that whole section is connected by that connection trail, I think is what we actually called it.
Yeah, the connector. Yep.
To connector trail, yeah, to Cedar Hill. So it's really, actually, that whole system is really nice. I'm not a biker, but it's really nice hiking.
Yeah. Yeah, East Main, Walnut Hill. Trying to get oriented on this map here. Where's Sawing?
It's right in the middle, that big green spot. Yep.
Yeah. But there's a loop. What's
Yeah, but
WCBT?
that is a loop in there. It's
Yes.
just got different colored trail,
Yeah.
but that's the loop.
Yeah, the parking area. I helped when they were clearing that out. Somebody rented a little mini excavator and we cleared that out. But yeah, that loop, it's where the P for parking is, where it says Sawing Farm, and the loop is actually partially that yellowish color, and then the black and white dotted line is kind of the loop. And then go up and over Walnut Hill. That dotted line that goes off to the east through the R of Southborough and goes along the aqueduct, that's really nice. That's like you go under you go under 495 heading east, and you end up over in South. Oh, there's a lot there. There's a lot of stuff to explore along there, and it's that little stretch where the trail goes right along the Assabet, not the Assabet, the open channel they call it. That's a pretty cool area. That's made me, there's a lot of riding. Well, riding. There's a lot of potential for exploring this area. It's definitely could be a destination if we can get SVT to kind of ease back on the biking thing. You can spend a good afternoon riding around there. And it crosses over. Then you can cross over Lyman Street, near Chauncey. You've got all those trails behind Chauncey. You can get up onto the aqueduct, which is kind of up at the northern end of the map. That open channel, actually, then that's water that flows from the aqueduct. You can then connect on the aqueduct and take that all the way up to Mount Pisgah. So it's, there's a lot of connectivity there that's possible. But yeah, I certainly would engage. Is Dan Stimson still at SVT, Mia? Yeah, it'd be interesting. I have a pretty good relationship with him. It'd be interesting to inquire about their mountain biking status.
I can ask. I can send an email to Dan.
He knows we're an active maintenance group, and that we, I've done maintenance on their trails, and not their trail, but like in Southborough, Westborough area, mowing and things like that. And he knows, if the bikers happen to cause any damage, that we just wouldn't let it get worse and worse. So I think from that perspective, he knows that we would get involved, and if we asked for NEMBA's help, Brian said they've got talented people. So certainly issues would be addressed very quickly as far as erosion and stuff like that.
I'll email them. I'll see if, they may have had a recent discussion, or maybe they haven't had a discussion in a long time and they'd be open to one.
Yeah. Cool. That might be it for the agenda. I don't know if we had
Well,
any.
did we, I'm sorry, but are we done talking about Brian's, like
Oh, yeah.
options in town? Like, because at this point, that's not an option, right? Because SVT won't allow bikes. So I'm just wondering if we want to
Yeah.
kind of brainstorm some other options since we're talking about it.
Do we need anything at Mount Pisgah that NEMBA can help with?
I mean, I don't think so. Like the project, like the giant bridge that we put in with the Eagle Scouts would have been like, NEMBA would have been equally suitable to do that build. But, you know, that one got, you know, sucked up by the Eagle Scouts. I don't think we have anything else we are building up there right now, as far as I know.
They could move the kiosk. Remember, we were going to move the kiosk from Edmond Hill up to Pisgah. Are they up for that? Not Edmond Hill. They were going to move it from Yellick. There's two at the Yellick on Hudson Street. And we were going to move one of those over to Pisgah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. You know, NEMBA actually just built a brand new kiosk down in Uxbridge. So we're going to take the older kiosk that was at Yellick, right?
Yeah, or they could build a new one. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's actually a really good idea, because we could go evaluate that thing and see if it's actually worth extracting, or whether we should just make a whole new one.
But the one up on Pisgah is just very sad.
Right. Oh,
It's
yeah.
probably 20 years old, that one.
Right. No, that would be perfect, because that's a very straightforward project, right? If we're replacing an old kiosk, like I think the permission scale should be pretty manageable, right?
No permission needed. It's just repair. You know, even if it's a little bit bigger, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, that might be an ideal one.
Don't get crazy. Don't make it like a billboard. That won't be
No, it would just
what happened?
Just be newer and better. But I'd still love to have us reach out to SVT about the Sonk area. But I think let me get back to NEMBA about a Pisgah kiosk.
Yeah,
preferably one that locks.
I mean, we can call out whatever we want, and they'll build it to match.
Forrest is the expert there, right? Make sure you get he had to repair the ones on Edmond Hill because they weren't built right at the top, like the shingles. The shingles weren't right.
Yeah, they didn't put the shingles on right. They're buckling. You're supposed to leave a little gap, but that's another story. To allow for shrink swell.
Yeah, that'd be nice to. That area is probably the most popular parking area of all the trailheads, you know, and to have a nice shiny new kiosk there, pretty cool. Maybe with some solar panels and some LED lights and.
And we're due for some new maps. Once I get that CMRPC data, we need a new map for Edmond Hill, and we'll need a new map for Pisgah with the Johnson Trail and the Sparrow reroute.
Excellent. Yeah, and then I don't know, any, before we close it out, if anyone else has ideas. I mean, there's some bridges here and there, like the Old Farm Trail, I think has some bridges there. They're in okay shape, but not great, especially the ones closer to Boundary Street, are a little bit wobbly. Birdsong Trail. I know the Eagle Scout project that we're working on with, I think his name is Jeff. That would address the bridges on the Stirrup Trail behind the high school. But on Old Farm Trail, there's a couple that probably could use a little help.
That bridge near where Bill did the clearing on the Beaver Loop Trail is a disaster. I mean, the bridge itself is off its mooring now. But then the pieces that walk you up onto that bridge have been challenging for many years. But they're like everything's shifted out of place there now, and I don't know what it would take to get that bridge to lift it and move it over so it sits back down on the rocks that it's supposed to sit on. Looks like a big adventure.
So I think related to that, I think a lot of the bridges on our trails are all of like a similar vintage, and a lot of them are like kind of coming up due.
Yeah.
So I think we collectively need to start probably inventorying and prioritizing like which ones we need to do like now. And I'm happy to start that, like
That's
to
a
start
very good idea.
to start a list so that as we're discussing stuff, we can know, yeah, that's on the list, and we should be able to at least like put a time frame on it. Like we can, like we know we're pretty sure we're going to get to the Stirrup Brook bridges this fall, hopefully. But then we should then figure out what's the next highest bridge priority and kind of map that out. So
That's a great idea.
I will start that list. Mia, I presume that we can fill that in outside of the meeting if we're just inputting like bridge data. That doesn't have to, we don't have
Yeah,
to do
if you
that.
just want to start a Google Doc, and
Yeah.
we put photos, like make a new sheet with photos, and maybe even if you want to be adventurous, come up with I used to do asset management, come up with a rating system, like condition of wood,
Right.
condition of moorings, size.
Yeah. Well, I'll start that sheet, and then we'll kick it around, and we'll get all of them on the list, and then we can collectively, next time we meet, we can start prioritizing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mia, do you know, speaking of bridges, since we're on that subject, over near Yellick, where there's the unofficial official bridge, that's the 2 telephone poles that goes across the Assabet, that's super narrow. Like, it's even hard to just walk across. That is, I don't think that bridge is supposed to be there technically, but given that, like, could that even be replaced?
It could be replaced. I found old email correspondence that DCR approved it. So it's official, and you can replace it. And remember, you had applied for that matching grant, and we can reapply again to put it in the same location or a different location.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a candidate for sure, because that's a tough one. I mean, also too, once you're across, that particular section of trail is a little bit difficult as well, but that's sort of a different thing to address, I think.
Maybe they'll feel bad about the whole dog park catastrophe and they'll approve the bridge this time. Who doesn't like a bridge replacement?
Can I ask a question? I guess new business. Trails are new. We have new trails. We have move trails. We have proposed trails. Who does the mapping on that? Is there a plan for remapping or checking at least the existing trails to see if they're accurate and so forth?
We grabbed the data for the Sparrow reroute, the Johnson Loop connector, and the Edmond Hill reroute. CMRPC came out with a nice Trimble unit, and they got the data for us. They have some money to do this for their communities. So they came out and did it. I think that was September. And I'm just waiting for them to send it over. And then they're going to update their regional maps. And then I'll work with our GIS person who is swamped right now. With COVID, he's just been pulled in. Like basically every town hall employee is now working remotely, and now all have a laptop and all need to learn how to use Zoom. And he's our Zoom master, one of our Zoom masters. So he's a little swamped, but maybe if COVID ends, he can help me update, because the town GIS has the recreation layer. We need to update that. Then we use that recreation layer to print the new maps. And I got a new computer this week that doesn't crash when I use ArcGIS. So I'm going to have to, it's been like 2 years, so I'm going to have to relearn ArcGIS, and hopefully I'll be taking over the mapping.
Yeah, and in some cases too, we rely on, I know Jim Stein, when he was running the website, he linked to the SVT maps in some cases. And then the advantage of that is whenever SVT updated their map, as long as they didn't change the link, then when people would link to it, they would get the access to the updated SVT map. So that seemed to work well too.
They do the regional Pisgah map because they bring in Berlin and their land and our land. So we're going to send that data over to them once we get it so that they can update the regional map that they have on their website.
All right. So I think that's it. If we wanted to close out the NEMBA Blackstone Valley topic, I don't necessarily have anything else. Oh, just one more thing too. Speaking of bridges, so we are working with the Scout, Brian mainly, but his name is Jeff Kayer, Eagle Scout candidate. And I think the plan, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, is to replace 4 bridges along the Stirrup Brook Trail. Or it might even be 3.
Mia had said we got permission to do 3 of them.
Okay.
Not 4. So I had a big worksheet where I did inventory all the bridges on the trail starting from the Route 20 end. And the first 2 were the ones that are old and too narrow for the mower. So we'd go longer and wider on those so we can get the mower onto the meadow. Then there's the 3rd bridge, Bridge C, is a little tiny one that's of little consequence. And then the one after that is, we'll call it Bridge D, is all rotted and broken and falling to pieces. So we're looking at replacing bridges A, B, and D on that trail.
Okay. And is that the bridge that sort of has that middle support? It kind of goes over a little bit of a ravine back behind the high school?
No, that would be Bridge E, actually.
Okay.
Bridge D is just a 2 foot by 12 foot that's just super low. It does cross over. I think it's a drainage stream that's been mostly dry this season.
Okay.
And it's all twisted and rotted and pretty much completely done with life.
Okay.
The longer one that has that center support is a 24-footer. That one gets the DOT rating of marginal. It's okay right now, but probably within 3 to 4 years, we're gonna want to replace that one, because that's also the only one that has any real height to it.
Yeah. Yeah. If that center support happened to buckle when somebody was on it, they probably, it's probably a 4 or 5 foot drop down.
Yeah, it's in okay shape. I was on it. I didn't see anything, super. Like I said, it's showing its age, but it's okay for now.
Okay.
But it also, this was sort of discussed to the side. I figure since all of those bridges are part of the Burroughs Loop Trail, that I think we kind of want to up our game a little bit on those, so that someone doesn't walk out of those gorgeous bridges in Marlborough and walk into Northborough and be like, what's all this shit, So
yeah, that's a good point.
Not that we need to go as crazy as the big Marlborough Boardwalk, but
right.
It certainly is some inspiration to up our caliber a little bit.
Yeah,
Brian,
I agree.
just
I
checked
think
the minutes. You got approval to do L6. They said any of them that need replacement, because the reason that there was a permit was you're going from 36 to 48 inches.
Yeah.
And they said that's fine on all 6 as needed, replace as needed.
Gotcha. I thought I read somewhere we got approval for 3, but I must have misread something. So
I actually forgot to issue the permit. So you have constructive approval. No, I'll issue it. It was a request for determination. So I forgot to finish it and issue it to you.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to work with Jeff Kayer and see if we can't knock out the 3 that we know we need before this season becomes too cold to work. And then we also have most of the lumber we need to do all 3 of those. Okay. Like probably 75% of it. So we can keep the cost down. And then we'll look again at what we want to do with any of the other ones, which would rotate more likely into a spring project, unless the winter is exceptionally mild.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then before I forget, Mia, there was some discussion about a new Amazon warehouse at 350 Bartlett. Is that 20 Bartlett? Is that down near where the aqueduct crosses over Bartlett?
No, it's across the street. So if you're driving to Marlboro down Bartlett, on the right, they've already built 2 new warehouses. Gutierrez Company built them. They're in, and then Gutierrez sold them to a management company who leased them to Amazon. It was just the tenants or Amazon.
So it's the ones that are there already.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought there was additional ones that they're going to clear more land.
No, there was an application that came in last month. Did the Wakesteds come last month? No, it was 2 months ago that they contacted you, Bob, and talked to you about the Save Bartlett. That was at 0 Bartlett. It's called 0 Bartlett Street. But 301 Bartlett is a big warehouse you can see from the Aqueduct Trail. It would have been next to that. The planning board denied it, and we're not sure what the owners are planning to do next.
Okay. I thought it was some additional. I Googled the street address, and it looked like it was sort of on the other side of the aqueduct, almost at the Northborough Marlboro town line.
Yep, it's 330, 350 Bartlett Street. And those warehouses were already built. They just got Amazon as a tenant.
Okay. I wonder if that was their plan all along.
They told us they didn't have any. And then across the street, the same thing happened with 301. And there's another one on the Marlboro line. The address is 150 Hayes Memorial Drive. So they've constructed 4 during my tenure here, and they didn't have tenants as they were building them. They kind of put them up for lease.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good for certainly some job creation and stuff. I'm just glad to hear they're not building even like 2 additional more huge warehouses, because the ones that are there are big enough.
Not right now. We don't have any plans before us for any more warehouses.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. I don't know what the agenda is, if there's anything else on the agenda, but we're getting towards the end of the topics to discuss. We could certainly open the floor to anyone who has anything they want to bring up before we wrap things up. We did the minutes, mountain bike, equestrian, trail runner updates. Kind of discussed that a little bit with the NEMBA project. Mia, do you have any updates from staff?
So the open space and recreation plan has been drafted, and the goals and objectives are ready. And we talked last month about having you guys review that. They did make some changes at the open space committee meeting. They met after you, and hopefully this Monday, November 23rd, we'll update that. And then I'm going to email you out. There's one section, I think it's section 9, which is really the goals, objectives, and action items. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of the plan. So if you guys would read that, and then we're going to be requesting a letter of support from you that you either support the plan or don't. It's up to you. You don't have to, but make sure your initiatives are in there.
Okay.
And if you do read through it, it's Cheryl suggested I made it like a more accessible banner item. So I did on your website, the Open Space website, and the Conservation Commission website. We haven't received any public comment. So if you do want to take a look, I think it's sections 8 and 9. It's one PDF document, section 8 and 9. Just make sure that your goals are represented in there. Because when you go for funding, if Trails Committee applies for any grants, then if this grant project is in the goals and objectives of the open space and recreation plan, you get more points.
Oh.
It's a competitive grant program.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll definitely look through that. So you said you'll be sending us a link to access that?
I'll send you the PDF document. We're going to try to update it Monday night. Open Space Committee is going to try to finalize their goals, objectives, and action items on Monday. And then I'll send it out to you and the Conservation Commission, just saying, this is it. And then it's the same thing I'm going to be presenting to the Board of Selectmen at their December meeting to get a letter of support from them.
All right, sounds good. Does anyone have any other topics they would like to discuss?
This is Jim. I wanted to thank anyone involved with the just very usable state after all the storms and everything on the Birdsong Trail, one of my favorites. And the bridges there don't seem bad at all. I've been there a couple of times, once all the way down to the Assabet, and that's just really great.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area for sure. It can get kind of wet and muddy in there, but
yeah, some places. I don't think it's our responsibility or anything, but I'm trying to keep a map in my head. If you're on top of the hill near the Westboro and Northboro and Southboro, towards Lyman Street.
uh-huh.
There's some areas there that are just so non-maintained. It must be a year ago. I went with my friend Peter. Oh, by the way, Mia, thank you. I shared those Pisgah materials with my friend Peter, and we had a great hike there a couple of weeks ago. But over there, in that near the town borders, there's some wet areas and stuff, and I was trying to go in what I thought was a trail, and it just became impassable. So really neglected area. I don't know if it's Southboro's problem or what.
Yeah, I think I know. That's the trail that ultimately leads up to the top of Cedar Hill.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the one you're talking. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Very rocky. Yeah, it's been not that it's any consolation, Jim, but it's been like that for a couple decades from what I can remember.
I think it's a wildlife management area owned by Fish and Wildlife. If we're talking about the same portion, Westboro had to pull out their boardwalk bridges, and people are allowed to walk it, but no one's allowed to maintain it.
That really long boardwalk they took out, that was the double plank, kind of zigzaggy one.
Yeah. Fish and when the state hospital lands were put out, they first went to other state agencies, and the Division of Fish and Wildlife took a big part and made it a wildlife management area. And just like our Pisgah Wildlife Management Area, we're not supposed to maintain the trails. You're allowed to walk it, but it's not supposed to be maintained.
But you can't walk it. You'll drown in a swamp.
Yeah.
That's the idea, Jim.
Oh, I see. Yeah, more room for the turtles or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. This is great. I miss all of you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Jim. So I forget, Mia, the exact process to close the meeting.
You can just end when you're ready. Just see if anybody else needs anything and close it out when you're ready.
Okay, so yeah, if anyone else would like to discuss something, please feel free. And if not, we could end the meeting.
I just have one question. Mia, do you have an ETA on the new signs that you were ordering? I know we might have chatted, but I don't remember what we said.
I ordered them. I'll check back. I'm getting them from D Signs in Northborough, and he said he was just gonna, because I asked him if he needed a purchase order. This was 2 weeks ago, and I asked him if he needed a purchase order, and he said no. He just go ahead and do them and then bill me. So I'll check in and see if they're done yet.
Okay, cool.
And are those for that new trail at Mount Pisgah, the rerouted trail?
They're mostly, most of the signs, there's two that say this area is under video surveillance because we're going to be hanging the trail cameras on Pisgah, and the police said we should hang those in the parking lot. And then most of the signs are not a trail or leads to private property.
Okay.
And did I tell you yet that I got the trail cameras? It was so hard to get them, but the municipal check, and then Cabela's didn't have the item, so I had to find something. It was quite an adventure, but I got my hands on 6 trail cameras, and they are not what I had hoped to get. So I have one at a conservation commissioner's house. I put it up last week. So I have 6. If I open all the 6 boxes, I can't return them. So I just opened one, and I have it running at his house, and I'm going to go pick it up tomorrow and just see what I see if it's what we want. If not, I'll return the 5 and get 5 different ones. So. Is
it motion activated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little trial and error. If any of you have experience, I have to figure out how to, there's like a plastic coated wire and a lock that I have to create to lock them onto the trees, and then get in the groove of how to point them and how to set them up so they can see you, but you can't see them, that kind of thing. So there'll be some trial and error.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely want to mount them up high enough that unless somebody brings a ladder with them, they're not going to be able to get it. But then that makes retrieving the memory card harder.
And it depends what their view is. That's why I have it at I'm testing it out. It's kind of pointed out over an area that sinks low. So if I can see low, that means I can raise them up higher.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what the photos are going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, it may take some trial and error to get it tuned in the right spot. But yeah, that'll be some interesting viewing, I can tell you. Lots of wildlife and some beer drinking probably, and maybe a couple vandals get caught.
The chief of police said people assume a lot of privacy where they shouldn't.
I can imagine that. They have to censor some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And are you just picking where they're going? We clearly don't want to call it out at this open meeting, but I wasn't sure what
Well, there'll be 2 in the parking lot to try to catch license plates. Not that we'll do anything with license plates, just if we notice vandalism, everything will be timed. So if we notice vandals at a certain time, we can start, writing down license plates, see if it's the same license plate as in the parking lot every time there's vandalism, that kind of thing, do some investigation. And then in areas we see cutting. So one of the first places I was thinking was the Loop Trail. Like there's just been a lot of cutting and moving there. And then the South Overlook. So people, they cut in, I think I've told you, the face of the South Overlook has the scrub oak, which is imperiled. It's not necessarily endangered, but it's imperiled. And it's definitely unique habitat. And people just keep moving everything I put there, and it's a mountain bike jump kind of thing. So so cameras go in there.
Point it right at the jump.
Yeah. And then we're gonna have to decide what we do with it. If we just sort of talk to people, because I think Brian mentioned that, you can pretty much identify someone from their bike, and I imagine hunters are similar. You can identify them by their gear, It'll be the young adult males in black hoodies that will be the difficulty identifying. So
Yeah, I mean, if we wind up getting good footage of someone on a bike, and we can identify the bicycle and get like a solid silhouette of the person, there's a real high percentage chance that guy can get tracked down.
Mm-hmm.
And then can get a talking to.
Yeah, and I do enforcement with the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission is regulatory. We enforce the Wetlands Protection Act and the Northborough Wetlands Bylaw. And our status is when someone violates, the first thing we do is we have a conversation. So it's not like I'm going to go slapping people with fines right away or calling the police on them right away. It's the first step is always a conversation, and I put something in writing. Usually send them a letter saying, I know you did a bad thing. This is how I expect you to fix it, and I expect you not to do it again. And then if they do it again, we have a document that did it the first time, and that second time is when we look at enforcement.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's very customer friendly.
Yeah, and that's something too that I think the word would get out. Hopefully, it might just be 1 or 2 examples, and people be like, "Oh, all right, we have to move our vandalism activities to some other town because they're catching us here in Northborough." Maybe, optimistically, that might happen.
That'll be the goal.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else with things they want to bring up? No. All right. So I guess I'll make a motion to end the meeting at I don't even know what time it is.
8:31.
8:31.
8:31.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. And I think we have to do a roll call at the end. So I'm Bob Mahalik, Chairman of the Trails Committee. And Brian?
Oh, Brian, I approve to end the meeting.
Forrest?
Yep, Forrest Lyford.
Cheryl?
Cheryl Devine.
Jim?
This is Jim. Approve closing the meeting. Thank you.
And I can't see anymore. I don't know if Scott is still here, Scott Rogers.
Bill is still here.
Thanks for letting me
Yeah,
join.
Bill.
I don't have a vote on that one though.
Okay.
But
And
thanks for letting me join with you guys. That was fun.
thanks, Scott. And is Bill still here?
Bill's
Yeah.
here.
Bill Cobb approves of the closing.
Thank
Right.
you.
And staff member Mia McDonald?
I don't get a vote. I don't pay taxes here.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Historically in December, we would typically have a social gathering and not have a meeting. But I think in lieu of that, we should probably just have a regular December meeting.
With drinks.
What
Yeah.
day? December 14th is conservation. So there's the 21st is the next Monday, or the previous Monday is the 7th.
Monday, the 21st would be typically when we would do it, third Monday of the month, if that's open.
Bob, do you want to make it an official meeting, or do you want to do it an unofficial social so that we can like drink and swear and stuff?
You know what? I have to attend the Board of Selectmen that night. So if you do want to do a social and any of you know Zoom, you could just host a little social Zoom meeting.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's continue the tradition of an informal social December meeting, with a beverage of your choice.
Okay. Don't discuss any official business. Just
No,
have
we won't.
You're
We
just
never
getting
do.
together socially. It's not a Trails Committee meeting. You're just
Right.
getting together
A
socially.
Social gathering.
And
All right.
I won't attend, and there won't be anything official about it.
So I will. I can send a Zoom invite around from my Verizon account, not from my Trails account, and it like that. So if you see an email from rmahalik@verizon.net, that's
What is it?
Mahalik,
Oh,
Robert
okay.
Mahalik. So
I get that now. That's not what that's not what I heard though. And I was like, what?
oh yeah,
What?
sorry.
Mao Palik?
All right, everyone.
Right.
Good
Have a
night.
good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.